At 38, Leonard was the kind of man everyone respected. A successful accountant in Nairobi, a devoted father to his 2 daughters, and a man who always kept his word. He lived by routine, work, family, church, repeat. Life was predictable, safe. Until one fateful afternoon when an old friend, Patrick, showed up at his office. Patrick was a ghost from Leonard's past, an old college friend he hadn't seen in over a decade. He looked different now, leaner, edgier. There was a desperation in his eyes that Leonard couldn't ignore. "Leo, I need a favor," Patrick said, voice low. Leonard hesitated. A favor from someone he barely knew anymore? It didn't sit well, but Patrick saved his life once, back in university, pulling him out of a burning dormitory during a fire. That kind of debt was hard to forget. "What kind of favor?" Leonard asked cautiously. Patrick glanced around before leaning in. "Just hold on to something for me. For a few days." Leonard frowned. "What is it?" "A bag. Nothing illegal," Patrick assured him quickly. "Just something I can't keep at my place right now. I'll explain everything later." Against his better judgment, Leonard agreed. Patrick handed him a black duffel bag, heavy and zipped tight. That night, Leonard hid the bag in his home office. He told himself he wouldn't open it. But as the hours passed, curiosity gnawed at him. At 2 a.m., unable to resist any longer, he unzipped the bag. Inside were stacks of cash, hundreds of thousands, neatly bundled. His heart pounded. This wasn't just money. This was a fortune. A note sat on top. "Keep it safe. Do not use it." Panic set in. What had he gotten himself into? The next day, Patrick was unreachable. Calls went unanswered, messages ignored. By the 3rd day, Leonard started feeling watched. A white car parked near his house for hours. A man in a dark jacket standing across the street, pretending to be on his phone. Then came the knock on the door. A tall, well-dressed man stood at Leonard's doorstep. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. "Mr. Mwangi," the man said smoothly, "we need to talk." Leonard's stomach twisted. "Who are you?" "A friend of Patrick's," the man replied. "You have something that belongs to us." Leonard tried to play dumb, but the man chuckled. "Don't waste my time. Just give us the bag, and this all ends." Something in his tone sent a chill down Leonard's spine. "What's in the bag?" he asked. The man's smile faded. "Not your concern. But trust me, you don't want to be the one keeping it." Leonard hesitated. If he handed it over, would they let him walk away? Or would he be tying himself deeper into something dangerous? Then the man's phone rang. He answered, listening intently. His expression darkened. Without another word, he turned and left. Leonard's hands trembled. What just happened? Hours later, Patrick finally called. "Leo, listen carefully. Whatever happens, don't give them the bag. And don't go home." "What the hell is going on, Patrick?" "That money isn't what you think," Patrick said. "It's evidence. It's..." A loud bang sounded through the phone. Then silence. Leonard's blood ran cold. That night, his house was broken into. The office was ransacked, but the bag was still there, untouched. The message was clear. They wanted Leonard alive, but they wanted the money more. But why? Leonard had a choice. Run and disappear? Go to the police? But then he noticed something inside the bag he hadn't seen before, a tiny flash drive hidden between the bundles of cash. Plugging it into his laptop, he opened the only file inside. It was a video of government officials making an illegal deal, exchanging bribe money. The very same money sitting in his house. Leonard finally understood. This wasn't just about cash. This was leverage, evidence that could bring powerful people down. A car pulled up outside. The men were back. Leonard took a deep breath, grabbed the bag, and walked out the front door. What he did next would determine if he lived or vanished forever. Leonard walked out the front door, the duffel bag clutched tightly in his hand. The car idled at the curb, its headlights illuminating his path. The same well-dressed man from before stepped out, adjusting his cuffs as if this was just another business deal. "Smart man," he said, eyeing the bag. "You've saved yourself a lot of trouble." But Leonard wasn't handing it over, at least, not yet. "I know what's inside," Leonard said, his voice steadier than he felt. "This isn't just about money. It's about power. About people who don't want the truth to come out." The man's expression flickered, but he recovered quickly. "And what do you plan to do with that knowledge?" Leonard's heartbeat pounded in his ears. He had no plan, just instincts. And his instincts told him that handing over the bag meant he'd never be seen again. Before I give this up, Leonard said, I need proof that Patrick is alive. The man smirked. Patrick made his choices. So did I, Leonard shot back. And right now, I have the upper hand. The man's smirk disappeared. The air between them thickened with tension. Then the man nodded toward the car, and the back door opened. Leonard's breath caught in his throat. Patrick. His old friend looked beaten, his face swollen, his eyes dull with exhaustion. But he was alive, you see? The man said. We're reasonable people. Now, hand over the bag. Leonard's fingers tightened around the strap. He had what he wanted, proof Patrick was alive. But he also had something these men desperately needed. And desperate men made mistakes. Leonard exhaled slowly. Fine. But first, let Patrick go. The man chuckled, shaking his head. That's not how this works. Leonard expected that answer. He reached into his pocket, his fingers brushing against his phone. He had already sent the video to someone who could actually do something about it. A journalist, one of the best investigative reporters in the country. And, if Leonard timed this right, they were watching right now. Then I guess we're both out of luck, Leonard said. Because that video? It's already in the hands of someone who'll release it if anything happens to me or Patrick. The man's jaw tensed. Lies worked best when they were mixed with truth. The journalist hadn't responded yet, and Leonard had no way of knowing if they'd even take him seriously. But he couldn't let the man see his doubt. A long, excruciating silence followed. Then the man's phone buzzed. He checked the screen, his expression turning grim. Leonard knew, right then, that the journalist had come through. You're making a mistake, the man muttered. No, Leonard corrected. I'm fixing one. The man gave a slow, reluctant nod to his driver. The back door opened again, and Patrick was pushed forward. He stumbled but stayed upright. Get in the car, Leonard told him, still gripping the bag. Patrick hesitated for a split second before obeying. Leonard turned back to the man. This ends here. You leave us alone, or that video goes public. The man studied him for a long time. Then, to Leonard's surprise, he smiled. You have no idea what you've just done, he said. But I'll give you this, you're smarter than you look. With that, he got into the car, and it sped away. For weeks, Leonard and Patrick lay low, waiting for retaliation that never came. The journalist published an explosive exposé, shaking the country. Several officials resigned, others disappeared, but Leonard had no regrets. Patrick left the country soon after, a shadow of the man he once was. I owe you, he said before boarding the plane. No, Leonard replied. We're even now. As for Leonard, life didn't return to normal. But he built something new. He quit his job, moved his family to a quieter town, and started fresh. He had seen firsthand the cost of keeping secrets, and he vowed never to be caught in someone else's again. And though the past never truly disappears, Leonard had learned the most important lesson of all. Not all favors are worth returning. If this story captivated you, be sure to subscribe to Tales by Reddy for more thrilling stories such as this. Share your views in the comments below. See you in the next one.